Alright everyone, the political paradigm is definitely shifting. I endorse Rand Paul for Senate leader, and thankfully it looks like he's actually interested in the possibility. Link in the description, not going to archive it. He conducted a poll, who would you like to see for Senate leader, including his name on it. That shows an interest, and I think it's a genuine one. You could not do better than having Rand Paul leading the Senate GOP. He'd whip things into shape. Number one, like McConnell, admittedly, he is strategically minded, and he's good with working within the Senate's decorum. They have complex rules and committees and shit like that. He knows about that. He's also well-spoken. He's relatively young. Probably end up serving longer than McConnell has in the end. And also he's at least marginally libertarian. He's more on the populist libertarian side of politics. With the RNC having Laura Trump actually as a co-chair right now, that's already been done. If the Senate leadership role goes to a MAGA Republican, somebody with more, he's literally the son of Ron Paul, so, for what that's worth, and it's quite a bit, you've completely overhauled the GOP. RNC run by MAGA, Senate run by MAGA, House marginally MAGA, and probably going to be increasingly so after the election based on the statistics that I'm looking at. You've done the impossible. You've turned the Republican Party from a party of neoconservative losers who would rather literally lose with grace, bow down solemnly and take a step back, or win but then be evil, and just basically ask the Democrats, even when they get the House, the Senate, and the presidency, they stonewall themselves. They lose on every issue, even when they're literally handed a victory. You've taken that party and you've done a soft reset and regressed it back to like the 50s Republican Party. You've regressed it back to populism, representing the working class, representing all people within the country, and actually giving a damn about issues and trying to win. That's probably the best thing we could have for the nation right now. You cannot get better than Rand Paul for a Senate leadership role. He can do it. If he throws his hat in the ring officially, and I hope he does, definitely we need to support him. Go all out to support Rand Paul for Senate leader. The other possibilities, you've got a number of names. He includes a couple of them on his poll. Thune, that's all right, I suppose. Cornyn, that would be unacceptable. Basically, you might as well just keep Mitch McConnell on for another 6 years. You might as well tell Mitch not to retire and say, look, Mitch, we can't do better than you because we refused Rand Paul, so, at the hazard of having Cornyn in there leading things, the anti-gunner, deep-seated neocon, in favor of everything neoconservative, why don't you just keep the job? It doesn't really matter. Even if you're dead, you're going to do as good a job as John Cornyn can do. Rand Paul, though, I think would be monumentally better. Since he does not appear to be interested in re-entering executive politics, the next best thing that you can do is make him Senate, probably incoming majority, leader. And Republicans would be nuts to not do that. They would be absolutely insane if they didn't option Rand Paul for Senate leader. I think that he could get the votes. I think it wouldn't be difficult for him at all. Yes, there's some neocons in the Senate, like the Mitt Romneys, but he's leaving, etc. But it doesn't really matter. In the end, you're probably going to be reigning, by the way, over again, a Senate majority. I'd say at the moment I would expect 52 seats. It'd still be narrow, but you'd have the majority. Rand Paul would be the kind of person, and here's the other pitching point. I say this as a non-Republican. I am not a member of the Republican Party. I'm MAGA. I'm small L libertarian. I like Rand Paul. I like his dad even more. Rand Paul is the sort of person who will occasionally run up against his own party on certain issues. If the Republican Party wants to continue supporting world policing and things like that, don't bother. Rand Paul's not going to win. If you want to win elections, though, if you want to have actual principles, if you want to stand for America first, he is your man. So we need to go all out. We need to encourage Rand Paul, hey, don't worry, you've definitely got the public support. By the way, another pitching point, and this is an important thing, the outgoing Senate leader is from the same state as the potentially, Rand Paul, incoming leader. They're both from Kentucky. They are the senators from Kentucky. Well, Mitch McConnell, try to explain to the people of Kentucky why you wouldn't endorse Rand Paul as your replacement. to keep a Kentuckian in that role. Good state, by the way. Lots of good food. I would support it completely. Again, unless you had Ron Paul, how can you possibly improve upon the concept? I'm trying to think of a way, and I can't think of one. Rand would do a good job. You wouldn't have anything like the House shenanigans we just saw with Kevin McCarthy getting thrown off. They wouldn't throw out Rand Paul. Maybe some people would grumble the next time that a foreign aid bill comes up and he says, I'm skeptical of this and think it needs to be parsed down. And he would have to temper himself some in some of his views in order to actually play nice with the other Republicans. But that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing to have that sort of negotiation and debate going on. And oftentimes within partisan politics, it never really happens. The closest thing we get to it oftentimes is the far-left cringe fringe within the Democratic Party nailing Biden because of his support for Israel or something like that. Or saying that the bill doesn't go far enough. You took the Green New Deal stuff out of the bill, so I'm not voting for it. Stupid shit like that. Rand Paul can get the job done. Guaranteed. He would have full-throated support from me and from many, many other people. Again, he's a fairly popular individual within politics. The far left hates him. They think that he and his dad are Nazis. But they think that about neocons too, so it doesn't really matter. The only time that they won't call you a Nazi, if you have an R after your name anyway, is if you worship at the altar of TDS, so you're like Liz Cheney or something like that. It's funny how the Bushes and Cheneys of the world that were reviled as the devil by the left 20 years ago, all of a sudden they've redeemed themselves. Well, they haven't redeemed themselves in my mind. As a former liberal who was frequently critical of the Bush administration, no, I haven't forgotten about all of the excess. All of the wars on credit, all of the deaths and so forth. I have a longer memory span, I suppose, than the average leftoid. Rand Paul, I think, would do a good job. The fact that he's even conducting this poll on Twitter, and I think it's still open at the moment, is a good sign, because it means that we have the possibility. It may not happen. I don't know what the odds are of it happening, but there's a possibility of overhauling even the Senate GOP. Well, we just overhauled the RNC. That's been made over in Trump's image. Again, I'm not nepotistic, but having Laura Trump there is probably a good thing. She's the wife of Eric Trump, of course. It is a good idea. And it shows that the GOP is moving in a much better direction than it has for decades. Maybe we can get away from the warmongering and shit. Look, I'm never going to register as a Republican, but I'm going to be far more amenable to generally supporting that particular political party as it becomes more populistic and more focused on working and middle class issues, defending the border, and not starting World War III. That sounds like a good platform to me. Doesn't sound like fascism. I keep getting told that it is, but I don't know. Fascists normally don't really care about the actual public. They grind people down with brutalismus and shit like that. And oftentimes associated with starting wars. Not strenuously avoiding starting wars. Those seem to be polar opposites to the classic fascist movement. I guess that they just got more intelligent with their branding or something. That's going to be the next pitch from Salon.com. Rand Paul would be an excellent Senate leader. There is nobody else in the Senate uniquely as qualified as him, especially ideologically. That's about all. Peace out.